Now I'm excited for our next reader. Steven Van Patten is a celebrated writer and Brooklyn native. He's penned 4 novels. The Brookwaters Curse trilogy is about an 1860s Georgia plantation slave who becomes a vampire. Killer Genius, She Kills Because She Cares, features a hyper-intelligent black woman who becomes a serial killer. The sequel, Killer Genius 2, Attack of the Gym Rats, will drop in 2018. I really love this title. Also, SVP short horror fiction is popping up everywhere, including Hell's Kitties, Shadows of Deathlehem, and the soon-to-be-released New York State of Fright. There's even a children's book, Rudy's Night Out, which is based on the childhood of one of the characters from the Brookwaters Curse series. He's also one of the hosts of the Beef, Wine, and Shenanigans podcast, an internet radio show that comically explores the people of color perspective of nerd culture and all things horror, science fiction, and superhero related. SVP can be found on Facebook by searching his name and under SVP Thinks on Twitter and Instagram. When he's not creating scary stories, he can be found stage managing television shows. This includes various MTV, VH1, and Fuse shows over the last 20 years, as well as Comedy Central vehicles, The President Show, and The Nightly Show with Larry Wilmore. Currently, he's been working on Harry Connick Jr.'s daytime talk show and occasionally filling in at ABC's The View and NBC's The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. And he is the master behind our fantastic sound show tonight, Steven Van Patten.
All right. Hi, everybody. All right, so leave it to me to be reading a Christmas horror story on Friday the 13th. This is Naughty. It was published in the Shadows of Deathlehem Christmas horror anthology, and I think the proceeds went to AIDS research, so give it up for that. All right, here we go. Not my best work, Murphy said, as he stared at the Christmas tree. Of course, this tree wasn't so much a festive decoration as it was bait. Murphy stepped out of the beige living room into the nearby light blue dining room and took a seat in a chair in the furthest corner. He didn't want Santa to see him until it was too late. As the lights from the substandard tree blinked and pulsed, they cast changing shadows and colors over the plate of cookies and the glass of milk sitting on the dining room table some 30 feet away. At 11:37 p.m., he checked the gun, releasing and then slapping the 9mm clip back in before slipping the firearm back into his waistband. Not that he expected a gun to be useful under the circumstances. It wouldn't be the first option, that's for sure. Around midnight, he craved a cup of coffee, but thought better of it. No sense in giving away his position now. Besides, he'd only end up having to piss. It wasn't until 12:39 a.m. that he heard the first jingle of sleigh bells. Then something large inexplicably began moving in the living room, blocking the light from the Christmas tree from spilling into the dining room. There was a series of thuds. Murphy could only imagine that Santa was placing the presents. Santa's footsteps were heavy as he walked from the tree towards the dining room and the cookies. He stopped, stared at them for a moment before turning his head toward the staircase that led to the bedroom. Murphy took note of that before he finally interrupted. "What's the matter, Santa? You don't like oatmeal raisin?" The jolly old man turned and faced Murphy. "Ho, ho, ho! You know the rules, little boy. Now I have to take the TV back." "Fuck you and your TV. I want to know why you fucked my wife." "Ho, ho, ho! I fucked a lot of people's wives. If you're referring to the lady of the house, well, she was new and tasty. She was awesome. Is she not home? Are you the husband? You're not mad at old St. Nick, are you? Cut the shit, asshole. You're not Santa Claus, and you're not some philanthropist that's also a locksmith. You're an incubus." Santa shot him a wry smirk. Figured that out all by yourself, huh? Are you some kind of demon expert? Ho, ho, ho. Well, I had nearly 2 years to become one, Murphy answered. I guess I should have been more concerned when I first moved my family here and the neighbors were all telling me about Shady Hills' personal Santa Claus. They said they didn't know who it was or where he came from, but he'd show up like magic and leave all sorts of expensive gifts, especially for the less fortunate of the town. Ho, ho, ho! But there are rules. Santa dragged one of the chairs out from under the dining room table and sat down. For a demon whose secret was out, his mood was rather cavalier. On Christmas Eve, your whole family should be in bed before midnight, or you get nothing. And since I moved here with my wife and kids to a 6-figure job in the middle of August, none of this was immediately relevant. Our first Christmas came and went, and we didn't see you. You and the wife also had a dinner party, if I remember correctly, Santa added. Your last guest didn't leave until after 1 a.m. Ho, ho, ho. And clearly, you had other houses to go to. About 6 months later, I noticed the string of miscarriages at the hospital, but I didn't put it together because, like I said, you hadn't come here. But I did find it odd that I had to run insurance paperwork for 13 stillborn babies within the time frame of a month for such a small population. That's right, you were hired to be the new hospital administrator. Santa finally started eating the cookies, seemingly out of boredom. Was, as in past tense, said Murphy. I got laid off that June. Wife's a social worker, so she doesn't bring in much. Unemployment insurance was a joke. It didn't take long for us to become financially strapped. Well, this is a mighty big house. Ho, ho, ho. Pam and I were arguing all the time. Why did we move here? Why can't we leave? Blah, blah, blah. So when my mother took ill, I took the easy way out that Christmas. I left for Nebraska to go be with her, knowing that now that my family qualified as less fortunate, the Christmas gifts would be taken care of by this omniscient neighborhood Santa I had been told about. And I did. I even left you a new electric razor because that last piece of shit of yours had dulled out. And believe it when I tell you, I know something about trimming beards. Ho, ho, ho. Santa placed a red gloved hand over his belly and laughed. Yes, you also left me with resentful children. Murphy's eyes narrowed at the wave. All those toys and video game systems you gave them somehow diminished me in their eyes. And Pam, of course, was extra cold. I'm not talking about her demeanor. I'm talking about the first time we had sex after Christmas. Was she a little reserved? Unresponsive? Ho, ho, ho? No, I mean her vagina was cold. A potential side effect, ho, ho, ho. Doesn't happen to everyone, Santa explained. I feel so much better knowing that after you knocked my wife up, Murphy said. The babies were always stillborn, Santa said. And at least I didn't leave you with another mouth to feed, ho, ho, ho. Unfortunately, Santa never did like condoms. You are not Santa. Can I tell you another secret? Sure. Santa leaned in. My powers, and I do have them, have restrictions as far as married women go. I mean, I picked this town because of all the single mothers. Every Christmas Eve, most of them are drunk or high on pills and expecting me to show up at an Xbox or the latest Lego set anyway. But here's the thing, Murphy. I can't seduce a married lady until her husband cheats on her first. Murphy's eyes and Santa's smile widened simultaneously. I can see from the look on your face you didn't know that. I can see that you never thought your ongoing friends with benefits relationship with Heather was going to come back with a price tag. And while you were back in Nebraska taking care of your mother, you stopped off to see Heather, didn't you? She probably greeted you at the door wearing something sexy. Your tongues were probably inside each other's mouths the second the front door slammed shut. And after you tore off her lingerie and got all up in her, you lay there all hugged up together. She went on and on about how much she missed you. Naturally, you made small talk, and she even asked how your wife and kids were doing, which almost took you out of the mood. But you got hard again, you fucked her again, you both came, and it was so good. A terrible quivering had begun in Murphy's stomach. Santa's description of the 2 hours he'd spent between the airport and his mother's house were spot on. Well, while you were with Heather, I was here. Now, what you need to understand is that as an incubus, I need to tap a certain amount of sexual energy to sustain myself. In the past, I tried keeping a few wives, but even with 2 or 3 women, I end up killing them. The strain is just too great. To spare myself the remorse of killing these beautiful creatures whose sweet spirit nectar I depend on, I spread the burden across the town. I have found that if I bed about 13 or 14 women every Christmas Eve, I'm good for the rest of the year. The best part is, none of the women die, and, except for the miscarriages, no one's life is disrupted. I'm over 1,000 years old, so I've amassed the wealth I need to afford enough video games, iPhones, Air Jordans, and designer jeans for everyone involved. And to keep it fair, if I get to a home and the woman has a faithful husband, but they're broke, I give them stuff anyway. That hasn't happened in a while, though. Murphy pulled the gun from his waist and pointed it at Santa. "Don't you want to hear the rest?" Santa asked. "The rest of what?" He glanced down to make sure the safety was off. "You're a demon, some sick fucking demon, and I have to send you back to hell." You still don't know the full story. While I have powers to seduce, I'm not a rapist. Your wife gave herself to me willingly. They all come willingly. In fact, she came downstairs as I was putting down the presents. She was wearing a nightshirt and panties. I told her she had been a bad girl by leaving her bedroom before I had left. She asked if I was going to spank her. She was half joking, but I took her up on it. I surprised her with my speed and strength as I closed the distance between us and put her over my bended knee and gave her a tight little ass 3 good whacks. Santa glanced at the gun, then back at Murphy's face. Murphy could see he was enjoying this. Then I let her go, but it was done. She had become excited, and I could smell it building up in her. Her heart raced as I came close again, close enough to rub her arm and whisper in her ear. I told her that I am but a weary traveler, but I bring tidings of great joy. Had you been a faithful husband, my words would have meant nothing. More than likely, she would have turned around and gone back to her bedroom, but my words went right through her, in her ear and straight to the tip of her clitoris. Santa banged his fist on the dining room table as if he were cheering himself on, causing Murphy to jump and the plate of cookies to rattle. She led me right here and yanked her panties off. I took her doggy style right here on this table.
Oh my goodness.
Murphy heard the gun go off, but he was only dimly aware he had pulled the trigger. Santa blinked as his body jolted back. A circular blood stain formed over his midsection. "You shouldn't have done that," Santa said after a moment. He was in pain, but his eyes defied any sense of real worry. "Why not, fucker?" Murphy asked. "Because some people are very protective of me." "Like who?" "Like Pam, your wife." The sound of jangling house keys was immediately followed by the front door swinging open. Pam was wearing a long black wool coat and a bright red scarf. "Was that a gunshot? What the hell is going on in this house?" Short version, I shot Santa here while he was dropping off presents. Pam's eyes widened as she walked up to them. She made brief eye contact with her husband before she turned and fell on one knee next to Santa and looked him over. "How dare you?" "How dare I? You fucked a demon. If that's not grounds for divorce." "Really? You're going there, sleepless in Nebraska? Pam felt his hand aside and took his hand. Don't worry, honey, I'm going to take care of you. You're going to take care of him? A livid Murphy repeated. Where are our kids? The kids are still at my mother's. What do you think? I wasn't going to put them through 2 unnecessary drives in one night. Santa's eyes opened. Pam? He sounded weak, much weaker than he had earlier. Staring at the gunshot wound, Pam put a hand on Santa's shoulder. Santa, I'm sorry I wasn't here. This idiot husband of mine tricked my own mother into telling me that she was sick. The lying sack of shit actually told her my immortal soul is in danger. But I'm here now, sweetie. Your immortal soul is in danger, you dumb whore, Murphy shouted. I have a good mind to shoot him again. You better not. Santa took Pam's hand. Hey, sweetheart. Ho, ho, ho. I'm glad you're here. There wasn't enough space under the tree for one of your gifts. I wanted to hand it to you personally. Just reach under my belt. Forget that now, Santa. You're hurt. I need to get you upstairs. Get him upstairs! Have you lost your mind? Before you do, reach under my belt. Pam did as she was told. Ignored the blood and slipped her hand under the large black belt buckle, expecting to find something hard and ready. She wasn't disappointed. You bitch! Even now, you're going to give him a hand job? With me standing right here? Not exactly, she answered, as she pulled her hand out of Santa's trousers and produced a snub-nosed .38 caliber handgun. In one fluid motion, she aimed and fired. The space where Murphy's left shoulder connected to the rest of his body erupted with a hot and piercing pain as he felt himself being pushed backward. His gun and his head hit the floor roughly 3 seconds apart from one another. The gun bounced and slid out of reach as he found himself having to fight to stay conscious. The last words he heard before he blacked out were, Pam, you have to help me heal. I still have deliveries. I know, honey, I know. We have to save Christmas. Ho, ho, ho. Minutes later, Murphy came to. His shoulder was still on fire, and the upper third of his shirt was matted in blood. He forced himself to sit up, only to see that both Santa and Pam were gone. That's when he noticed the rhythmic thumping that seemed to be coming from upstairs. Initially, he couldn't imagine what the noise was, but it became obvious once he stood up and saw a trail of clothes strewn across the house. A large pair of shiny black boots next to Pam's much smaller red snow boots on the kitchen floor. Santa's red and white blood-stained jacket next to her black one on the living room couch. A large black belt and red and white pants next to a pair of women's Levi's on the stairs that led to the bedrooms. At the foot of the stairs, he could hear them. Ho, 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 yes! Ho, 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 yeah, that's it, right there, take it. You're doing it, Pam. The wound is nearly closed. Ho, ho, ho. That's good, baby. Now go harder. Ho, ho, ho. Give it to me. Murphy turned back around and retrieved the gun. I hope you two assholes are having a good time because now you're both fucking dead. And there's not a court in this country that would convict me. He finally saw the underwear pile. A white lace bra and matching panties next to white boxer briefs and a white XXL t-shirt. When he got to the top of the stairs, he cocked the hammer of the gun and charged the bedroom, slammed into it full force. The door swung open and splinters flew as the door frame gave way. Ah! He screamed as he emptied 15 rounds into what turned out to be an empty bed. Each of the 4 pillows had erupted into a cloud of feathers in the onslaught. You've been a very bad boy, Murphy. The voice had come from behind. He turned and saw a naked, well-endowed, and gleaming Santa towering over him. Pam, also naked, was slung over his right shoulder, her bare ass next to his head. It was as if sex with Pam had made Santa taller and stronger. He thought he hit Santa with the empty gun, only to have a very meaty hand suddenly grip his throat hard enough for him to gag. "No more Christmas for you." It was the second time this evening that Murphy found himself fighting and failing to stay conscious. Only this time, as he felt the vertebrae in his neck giving way, it dawned on him that he wouldn't be coming back this time. Santa watched until all the light left Murphy's eyes, then dropped him on the floor. Then he stepped over Murphy's body and gently placed Pam on the damaged bed and covered her in a single sheet. She wasn't dead, but she was close. The sexual energy she had expended to help him, had all but drained her. He silently promised to make sure her next Christmas would be fantastic if she lived. Stepping over Murphy's corpse again, Santa walked through the house, found his clothes, and got dressed. 5 minutes later, he'd be gone. The night was young by his standards, and there was still much to do.